Hello, fans and superstars from my dear friend Nadiya Shah. I am Yuriria Robles and I'm bringing you the predictions for all the signs for the month of May 2025. This time, I'm bringing you the proposals and, above all, the questions that each of us must face and answer in light of the changes taking place in the solar system now. After listening to the general astrological conditions, please remember to check your ascendant and moon signs as well as your sun sign. So, in that way, you may have a more complete explanation of what the astrological energy holds for you. Congratulations to Taurus and Gemini, who will be celebrating their birthdays this month. The Sun's passage into Taurus this year is very important because right at the beginning of the month, the Sun leads us to question the meaning of existence and to answer the following ideas. What reasoning and perfectionisms do we need to overcome? How are we going to nourish ourselves spiritually? What are we hungry for? What is the great love we want to nourish? And above all, how are we going to get organized? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will stabilize in a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat mellow energy, although these planets will still be convulsing the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed. It can be said that astrologically, the 21st century will begin to stabilize now, as Pluto's movement into Aquarius will take 20 years, Neptune's 14 years in Aries, and Uranus 7 years in Gemini. It's a matter of patience, waiting for the planets to definitely enter those signs and not return to the previous ones. In the meantime, we must prepare to be flexible and courageous, willing to experience new things. For now, Venus, the ruling planet of Taurus, begins a cycle in Aries, conjunct Neptune. The planet of values and love is not comfortable there because the impetus of the fire sign quickly burns desires and the impulse to love. However, the encounter with Neptune proposes an exercise in idealizing Aryan themes such as conquest, the warrior attitude, and self-expression. On the other hand, we strive to be independent, and on the other, Neptune imposes a fog from which it is impossible to escape, inevitably leaving us looking inward. That is where true achievement lies, the purest expression of the self, and where the most important battle must be fought against limiting beliefs, doubts, and insecurities, which is what we must leave behind. Now, this situation of internal struggle becomes stronger because Mars, which rules Aries, is now in Leo. And let's say it spurs us towards creativity and self-expression, which clashed at the end of the month of April with group interests, intelligence, and rationality. That is to say, even if we want to do something, others express their sensible opinions and force us to come to an agreement, which is essential for now. Even if we pretend, or word leaders, or leaders at least do, that their word is that one that counts, we cannot sustain ourselves unless we reach an agreement with everyone else. If we don't, we run the risk of burning out our creativity, ideas, and leadership. Mercury is also in Aries and is heading towards a conjunction with Chiron, indicating that during this time ideas, communications, and agreements have an impetuous component that can ultimately hurt everyone involved. This requires resilience and, above all, forgiveness. Understanding that enthusiasm and excitement lead to recklessness and anger at any time and in everyone without exception. It is essential, therefore, to have wisdom to understand ourselves. It is essential, especially from May 1st to May the 8th. The Taurus full moon culminates on May the 12th, forming a harmonious dialogue that offers enough easiness to at least guide us towards new and innovative possibilities, although the moon in Scorpio is uncomfortable due to the intensity of the sign. The moon's nature is cyclical and unfolding, so in other aspects, we are forced to change our objectives and goals, leaving behind drama and vengeful resentment. This is precisely what we must free ourselves from in order to give rise to new passions. One of the most important encounters for Taurus for the past 7 years is with Uranus, which has brought a chain of natural events that, as befits the sign, affects the planets, geography, topography, and natural rhythms. This transition itself largely underpins the surprising effect of 2020 on all aspects of life. So now, from May 14th to the 18th, the Sun will have its final encounter with Uranus in the sign of Taurus, closing the cycle of renewal in that area of our life, our values, loves, and relationships, as well as with nature. We cannot deny the Uranian effect on the multiplicity of connections and definitions that aim to affirm identity, independence, and originality. Although Uranus days in Taurus are numbered, we will have to wait until July the 7th for it to enter Gemini, where it will remain for 4 months, as it will retrograde for the last time in Taurus to the last 3 degrees, which are the ones it has yet to review. Now, on the May 20th, the Sun enters Gemini, bringing with it a revitalization of communication processes, the exchange of ideas, and movement. Mercury, the ruling planet, would have already advanced into Taurus on May the 11th, and this causes our thinking to stabilize to the point of slowness and stubbornness. We must wait until the 25th for it to fully unleash its flexibility, agility, and mental acuity in Gemini. We must consider that Jupiter is also in that sign, and we all want to negotiate, but the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, still in Pisces until the 24th, creates uncertainty. This surprises no one, but it does explain why personal, social, and global negotiations are bogged down. This difficult dialogue, which always brings economic crisis, will continue, even when both planets advance to cardinal signs, because the outlook is unclear. We know that new negotiations must be achieved, but the framework is clouded, confusing, and unclear. Let's be patient. As I already mentioned, there is inner work to be done first, and then we can embark on new things. We'll talk more about this in June. On May the 29th, the superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun occurs. As they approach and separate, the planet is scorched, meaning we confuse what we think or say with who we are. However, by being on the exact superior conjunction, which occurs on May the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time, we can reflect deeply on what we need to communicate from the spirit, because we will respond from the heart. In short, we must open ourselves to breaking inertia, foolishness, and obstinacy, taking advantage of the influence of Uranus with the Sun, and then that our star will join Mercury to accommodate new ideas. Like in a closet, we must take out the old to let in the new. We should also know that the last week of May and until August the 31st, we have the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in Aries. They will be as close as possible, although not exact, so we will have to wait for that until February of next year. This conjunction, though, begins a 165-year period for Neptune and will meet Saturn 5 times during that period. From the outside, they are opposing principles. Neptune dilutes reality while Saturn defines it. In their conjunction, we are expected to lay the foundations for a new spiritual reality, to build an ideal that will lead us to new conquests and personal achievements. The problem is that Neptune doesn't allow us to see clearly outside. It's more useful to look inward. That's where the most dangerous enemy lies, the one we easily project outside. However, no one knows us better than ourselves. We know our weaknesses and flaws. So, adjusting to the spiritual discipline that Saturn proposes would heal our internal relationships and therefore those with others. Saturn will propose a framework that will be difficult to sustain, I won't deceive you, because it will require patience and faith in the face of the unknown of the new self we want to sustain. In this sense, succumbing to the unknown, to the past, is easier than daring to build a new reality. The challenge is enormous. Finally, on the 26th, the new moon arrives in supreme harmony with the Sun and Mercury and Pluto in Aquarius. This is a clear announcement of new ideas, communications, contacts, and movements that must be sown now, even if they take 36 months to bear fruit. Let's sow now what we want to learn, negotiate, and move forward. This isn't the time to express it openly. It's the time to at least focus on creating the space for such a transformation. Now let's listen to the effects of all these movements on each sign. See you next time. Taurus, congratulations for those Tauruses who will be celebrating their birthdays this month. The Sun's passage through Taurus this year is very important because you have to answer the questions I mentioned in the introduction from your personal perspective. How far have your hopes and your dreams taken you? How can you serve your friends and give concrete form to those hopes? What demands and perfectionism do you have to overcome, both creatively and in relationship to your children? How are you going to nourish yourself spiritually from now on? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize into a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat gentle energy. Although these planets will still be convulsive, the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed. For you, Taurus, Pluto touches the professional and social arena, which will be undergoing a transformation process for 20 years. Neptune concerns your relationship with your hidden enemies, which we've already clarified, who are actually projections of self limiting beliefs and self sabotage that become personified when we don't accept them and swear they are the others, the problem, those outside. And Uranus will invite you to force the creation of new technology related resources. The Sun in Taurus is ruled by Venus, which begins the month in conjunction with Neptune, possibly bringing you a love that challenges your principles, forcing you to see that in enemies there is an invitation to adventure, to self conquest, and forcing you to overcome fear and paranoia. Both are ruled by Mars already in Leo, which forces you to be more expressive at home and with your ancestors. Agree on your social needs with those of your family. In both cases, overcoming the fear of starting new tasks and goals is essential, even if it makes you uncomfortable. With the conjunction of Mercury with Chiron, it will become clearer to recognize that others can personify your internal struggles. If you try to assume that each person who opposes you is an aspect of you, the situation that hurt you would be telling you something important. First, you will find the reason why everything had to be this way, and then you will see that there is room to forgive everyone, including yourself, because each person acted from their own limitations and desires. The effect is that now you have to be resilient and move forward. The full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio falls precisely over your relationship area, where you need to take advantage of the harmony of the nodes to surprise lunar nodes to surprise others with your new self. Take advantage of this by freeing yourself from drama, revenge, and obsessions. Focus your attention on the transformation your partner is proposing, not on whether the relationship is toxic or merely passionate. With the Sun's final conjunction with Uranus in your sign, which occurs between May the 14th and the 18th, take the opportunity to renew yourself, especially those whose birthday is on those days. It's not just about dressing differently or wearing outlandish outfits, but rather about freeing yourself from the tendency to cling to things for security. This presence of Uranus in your sign must have left you, above all, with the ability to change, to flow even against your own nature. Everything will continue to impose changes and adjustments on you, which you will now be able to make. Let go of stubbornness and obstinacy. They are of no use. With the Sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th, a revolution will come to your values, resources, contacts, and negotiations. On the 25th, Mercury enters its regency. On the 26th, the new moon is in Gemini. And on the 29th, at 10 p.m. Central Time, the superior conjunction is here. In addition, Jupiter is also in Gemini, and we'll want to negotiate, but the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, still in Pisces until the 24th, leaves no room for certainty, although all of these adds up to a transformation for you that you must be willing to experience, because Jupiter is also still in this sign. So open yourself up to new businesses. Sow and wait for new ideas. Start with the first contacts, but don't divulge the entire project to others just yet. Make a 36-month plan to complete it. Keep in mind that during that time, Uranus will enter this sign and bring a connection with technology as well as unexpected projects that you will discover later. So even if you are in a hurry and eager to share, walk a lot and think so that you open yourself up to new things. That's your challenge. Gemini, congratulations to the Geminis who will be celebrating their birthdays this month. The Sun's transition into Taurus this year is very important because right at the beginning of the month, the Sun leads you to question the meaning of your professional and social development. I suggest you answer the following questions. What reasoning and perfectionisms do you need to overcome? What situations inspire you to move forward? What social or professional situation confuses you? What glamour, fantasy, appearance, or lie do you want to dispel? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer. We will have a somewhat gentle energy which will involve your groups of friends and above all, your hopes, your knowledge, and relationships with the courts, foreigners, and universities, as well as your own appearance and personal abilities, which you must deploy in all their natural and technological forms from now on. It will be spectacular for you. At the beginning of the month, the Sun in Taurus reaches the area that represents your hidden enemies, which for you are the immovable, the foolish, and the slow. A part of you is like that, and although you don't like to admit it, every year you find yourself in this period that can cause you anguish and restlessness. For the last 7 years, the Sun in Taurus has been in a dialogue with Uranus, which has presented you with situations that surprised you because you've had to recognize the areas and people in your life that you chose not to change. Yet they have done so for your greatest benefit and nerves. This year is the last time they meet in Taurus, from May the 14th to the 18th. So Pay close attention to those days when a situation you assumed would never change suddenly changes. Starting on the 12th with the full moon in Scorpio, a work situation arises that forces you to express and communicate with effort what needs to change. There's no going back. You must free yourself from obsession, attachment, and the desire for revenge. The Taurus sun is always ruled by Venus, which on this occasion is in conjunction with Neptune at the first degree of Aries. A renewal of your hopes brings to your awareness an invitation, almost a temptation, to new conquests that should guide you in the coming years. As long as you overcome the wound of having made a misguided or inappropriate move. Due to the conjunction of Mercury with Chiron in this sense, you must overcome the pain with understanding and forgiveness. Only then will you be resilient. Both are ruled by Mars, which is now in Leo, which requires you to be creative in self expression to the point of being theatrical, but above all, honest, speaking from the truth of your heart. The full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio indicates the area of work and health. It is in harmony with your professional and social performance. However, you must recognize that you will be surprised by a job change that will require stability in the new situation, meaning that you must be able to calmly handle the new situation. The sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th invigorates you, and you feel the renewal of your light and strength. Jupiter is still in your sign. We all want to negotiate, but the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, still in Pisces until the 24th, creates uncertainty, and for you in particular, it puts you at odds with your friends. However, the most important thing is that you may feel confused as you perceive and know that a major change is about to come in your work and social life. It's still not clear. Wait a little longer, at least until the following month, for the energy to advance and clarify what conquests you want to undertake. On the 25th, Mercury enters its regency, and with the 26th, a new moon in Gemini will enhance your energy of transformation and mobility, especially on the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time, when the superior conjunction occurs between Mercury and the Sun. I suggest you meditate deeply on what you want to achieve, how far you imagine you can go, and plan discreetly so that over a 36-month period, your transformation will be as spectacular as you imagine. Cancer. The sun's passage through Taurus this year is very important because right at the beginning of the month, the sun will ask you about the meaning of your faith, and you will need to answer the following questions. What reasoning and perfectionism do you need to overcome? How do you nourish your faith? How do you organize your thoughts and knowledge? What knowledge do you want to deepen? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer and will have a somewhat gentle energy, although these planets will still be shaking up the social and political and economic conditions we are used to. For you, Pluto imposes a long period of transformation in relation to resources you create as a team with your partners and your spouse. There may be an opportunity to conquer new professional and social areas. You'll even find new friends who will agree to support you. The most important thing is that you'll develop new hopes, and this will allow you to be braver in conquering these situations because the challenge is daring to leave your comfort zone. The sun in Taurus always leads you to energize and enjoy your groups of friends and your hopes. Always ruled by Venus, now in conjunction with Neptune. This month directs your gaze towards desiring new achievements and successes, as long as you move. Both are ruled by Mars now in Leo, which forces you to produce new resources that bear your creative and expressive stamp. Agree to make the investment wise, but it will be successful if you move and don't listen to the fears of others. As for Mercury conjunct Chiron, it means overcoming a painful situation. First, because it hurt you in the past, and because it will leave a mark on you that no longer has to be limiting, but rather must be understood in all its origins. Those who caused it were thinking only of themselves, and no one was spared. Now is the time to understand, grasp the lesson, forgive those involved, and have enough resilience to focus on the new without forgetting the lesson. You are now wiser and more knowledgeable. The full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio is harmonious for you because it allows you to focus on your creative area as well as with your loved ones and your children. Free yourself from old aspirations and friends that prevent you from changing and find new groups and inspirations. Avoid drama, obsessions, and toxic situations. When the Sun reaches the conjunction with Uranus in Taurus for the last time, from May the 14th to the 18th, it is a time of renewal of the surprise announced by the new moon. Prepare to adapt to the new, even if it feels too bizarre or crazy for now. With the Sun entering Gemini on the 20th, you will have to face the fact that superficial ideas, gossip, and casual communications require you to dig deeper, to distinguish truth from lies before declaring yourself offended or hurt. Furthermore, Jupiter is also in Gemini, and we all want to negotiate, but the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, still in Pisces until the 24th, creates uncertainty and demands boundaries that are unclear or at least change daily. In this sense, you must navigate with intelligence and prudence, which will be easy because you know how to wait. Just know that this is no time to hide from change. On the 25th, Mercury enters its regency, and on the 26th, the new moon forms in Gemini, which will present you with situations that are here to stay, even if for now they are only plans, and in the fall things will seem to return to where they are now, which won't be for long. Open your eyes and prepare for change. On the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time, Mercury concurs with the Sun. This is an excellent time to reflect on what you need to understand about yourself, your fears, and your past in order to achieve greater freedom and movement. Take advantage of it. Leo, the Sun's passage through Taurus this year is very important for you because it's asking you at the beginning of the month about the meaning of the transformations that are coming for you. Consider the answers to the following questions. Which systems and services are no longer productive for you? How will you overcome the disorder and confusion in the resources you share? You should be careful when investing or sharing your money. The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat gentle energy, although these planets will still be shaking up the social, political, and economic conditions we were used to. Pluto stabilizes in the area of your partnerships and relationships. They will have a strength and power that you need to balance, avoiding power struggles and instead relying on their strength and intelligence, which should also listen to you to form a team rather than a duel of titans. Neptune will enter the realm of higher knowledge and lead you into fields of knowledge that will inspire and nourish both of your expressiveness and your creativity. Uranus in the area of groups, associations, and hopes will strengthen new knowledge and connections with foreigners and with your partner. Share your new interests precisely. This will mitigate confrontations and arguments for a long time. The Sun in Taurus is ruled by Venus, which conjunct Neptune begins a new period of knowledge that you will have to conquer. It should inspire you to discover new experiences and places, as well as foreign countries and people. Both are ruled by Mars, which will now be in Leo. This configuration was the cause of the confrontation between leaders and oligarchic powers at the end of April, and for months to come. In your case, between yourself and your partners and associates. The intensity of the confrontation will diminish, but not the consequences. Therefore, I suggest you focus on studying and learning so that the presence of Mars will be more productive for you. Encouraging confrontation won't make you right because the goal is not to impose yourself, but to work as a team. The challenge you have to overcome for this higher education studies is believing you are capable because Mercury will reach the conjunction with Chiron. Perhaps in the past you were hurt at the university or in court or even on a trip. It was a very unfortunate situation in which the participants only thought about their objective and didn't notice the damage. In other words, it wasn't against you personally. Putting yourself in that perspective will help you understand what happened because it left you with a very important lesson. Now it's time to forgive what happened and have enough resilience to allow you to enter that space of knowledge. Of course, you can. The full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio will bring you a situation that needs to be balanced at home with your family and in your new social and professional situation. A shift in the latter will bring new adjustments. Don't cling to things. There's no way to let things go. On the contrary, listen to everyone's needs, including your own, so you can establish new situations. With the Sun conjunct Uranus in Taurus for the last time from May the 14th till the 18th, it brings further changes in your social and professional spheres that have forced you to be more open to technology and the unexpected. When Uranus advances into Gemini, the changes will be in your groups and your hopes, the latter more in harmony with your own energy. With the Sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th, this very area of associations and the groups of friends to which you belong will be illuminated. Also, with Jupiter in Gemini, we all want to negotiate right now, but the difficult and in a harmonious dialogue with Saturn still in Pisces until the 24th means there's no certainty of any kind, which is why I mentioned being careful when investing or sharing your resources. On the 25th, Mercury enters its regency, strengthening bonds and communications, even with the new moon on the 26th. On the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time, Mercury conjuncts with the Sun. Take advantage of that moment to get inspired and recognize what you want to participate in and grow in so that you can unfold the process over the following 36 months. You don't have to say anything now. Just meditate on it yourself, plan very well, carefully, and begin. Once you are on the track, then share it. Be smart. Virgo, the Sun's passage into Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the Sun leads you to question the meaning of existence and answer the following questions. What obsessions and perfectionisms do you need to let go of? How can you spiritually nourish your relationships or partnerships? How will you set boundaries for your partnerships or romantic relationships? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat gentle energy, although these planets will still be shaking up the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed to. Pluto will present you with situations where you will have to work as a team. Neptune will invite you to risk the resources you share to create new ones, although caution will certainly be necessary. And Uranus will present you with new professional and social situations in which communication will be of the utmost importance. Of course, the sun's passage through the sign of Taurus is in keeping with the expression of your sign or your own energy. It always illuminates the zone of higher learning and travel. This year, its ruler Venus begins the month in conjunction with Neptune, both ruled by Mars, now in Leo. All this means that a period of great transformation is beginning in the values that you share with your partner and associates. Perhaps an ideal plan that sounds wonderful may present itself, but I would advise caution as Neptune as the king of illusions, and there is little clarity, and at this moment there is no precise data on what is being presented to you. Wait a bit to see more clearly what is being offered. Even Mercury's approach to Chiron reminds you of a past situation where you didn't act in a timely manner, basically because you were the result or effect of what happened without you being able to do much. That was a different time. Now it is another time. And if you can put yourself in the participant's shoes, you will be able to understand the lessons learned in a different way, to overcome what hurt you, forgive, and find the strength enough to be resilient to move forward. With the full moon on May 12th in Scorpio, you will be reminded that you need to emotionally engage with your thoughts without falling into obsessions, revenge, and toxic situations. Remember that enjoying life in this moment is essential. The same passage of the Sun in Taurus as it approaches Uranus for the last time from May the 14th to the 18th allows you to free yourself by understanding a reality larger than what's around you. Take advantage and let go of everything that prevents you from enjoying life as it is, not as it should be. With the Sun entering Gemini on the 20th, you will be able to focus on professional sources or situations. Furthermore, Jupiter is still in that area, and although we all want to negotiate the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn still in Pisces until the 24th, leaves no certainty, and confusion and conspiracies and lies are the order of the day. Wait for the density to dissipate a bit. You don't have to wait too long because on the 25th, Mercury enters its regency, and with this, your thinking becomes agile and alert, although a bit accelerated for you. You must welcome the new moon in Gemini on the 26th to understand what is being offered to you as a professional and career opportunity. So take advantage of the exact superior conjunction on the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time to deeply reflect on what you want to achieve and organize for a 36-month period to achieve it. You don't need to announce it, but rather literally plant the seed and take the first steps towards achieving it. Of course, you can. Libra. The sun's passage into Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the sun leads you to question the meaning of your work and your health routines. It would be good for you to reflect on the following questions. What fears, obsessions, and perfectionisms can you overcome? How are we going to spiritually nourish your daily work? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize into a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat gentle energy, although these planets will still be shaking up the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed. The sun's passage through Taurus leads you to consider situations that need to be resolved, transformed, and taken to the next level. The sun is ruled by Venus, which at this moment is in conjunction with Neptune, which strengthen your idea of the ideal and unattainable love you have shaped in your dreams, which now seems possible. In all honesty, it's not so much, but if it happens, it's to inspire you that the ideal love is to the divine and universal, that encompasses everything. Being ruled by Mars, already in Leo, it can manifest for you in a group of friends who bring you enough common sense because they will ask you about the meaning of the potential relationship, what it can inspire you, and how it can connect you with universal and higher powers. In the same time area, a little further ahead, Mercury reaches Chiron, which brings you situations in relationships or partnerships where you were hurt and left you truly wounded. It's not about wallowing in pain, but rather looking at the causes that led to that specific event from a different perspective, forgiving from the new perspective and gaining enough resilience to move forward. With the full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio, you can focus on your values and resources and commit to what is yours to balance with the freedom that Uranus provides. Just as the Sun conjuncts Uranus in Taurus for the last time from May the 14th to the 18th, take advantage of this opportunity to separate what's yours from what's of others. It's one thing to have a wonderful partner and another to put all your resources at their disposal. Balance, that is your thing. With the Sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th, you will be able to focus on higher education, new perspectives coming from abroad that will invite you to communicate with others more freely. Also, with Jupiter in Gemini, you just need to know that although we all want to negotiate the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, still in Pisces, until the 24th, means that no proposal will be certain. When Mercury reaches its regency on the 25th, your thinking will be more agile, open, and precise, which adds to the new moon on the 26th. Negotiations will multiply. Take advantage of the superior conjunction on the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time to think deeply about what you want to learn, what trips you want to take, or what legal matters you want to resolve. Give yourself 36 months to so begin implementing, sustain, and complete them. Don't rush, but don't stop. Scorpio. The Sun's transition into Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the Sun leads you to question the meaning of your creativity, your loves, and your children. Think carefully about the following questions. How can you develop your creativity? What obsessions and perfectionisms in your hopes do you need to overcome? What criticisms from your peer groups do you need to forgive? How will you spiritually nourish your creativity, children, and loved ones? What do you need to communicate from your spirit? What is the great love you want to nurture? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a harmonious pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat gentle energy. Although planets will still be shaking up the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed, and when the Sun passes through Taurus, it leads you to focus on your relationship. Ruled by Venus, now conjunct with Neptune, it invites you to establish a routine of personal care and health for yourself and your partner. It also brings the feeling of a perfect job that will lead to an ideal situation. However, you should know that although it seems incredible, it carries with it a mirage and to a certain extent blurs reality. This time it's not about being disappointed, but rather inspired to create a routine that will lead you to greater peace and stability. Even the presence of Mercury conjunct Chiron can bring you discipline and routine exercise to regain the strength of your muscles or your emotional or mental mobility. This has been caused by an unfortunate event, which now forces you to focus on your recovery. Furthermore, due to the rule of Mars now in Leo, it promises success in the social and professional spheres. Just put an end to the power struggles and focus on your recovery, learning the lessons, understanding the different perspectives of those involved in that situation, and above all, demonstrating your power with the resilience that only you are capable of. With the full moon in your sign on May the 12th, you will be able to look back at how far you've come and what you need to ask of your partner. Keep in mind that a few days later, when the Sun reaches Uranus for the last time from May the 14th to the 18th, you will be able to free yourself from obsessions, demands, and power struggles with your partners. It has been a tough lesson, but it's made you independent and more capable of being in a relationship free of toxicity. When the Sun enters Gemini on the 20th, you will be in a position to do business with others, as Jupiter is in Gemini, but you need to keep in mind that it's engaged in a difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, which is still in Pisces until the 24th. We all want to negotiate, but under these conditions, there's no certainty. On the 25th, Mercury enters its regency, and with it, things will move more quickly and smoothly, strengthening the new moon on the 26th, also in Gemini. Take advantage of the superior conjunction on the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time to think deeply about the business you want to do. You don't have to say it, just concentrate and connect with your intuition, using prudence and agility to know what to do with calm and certainty. Sagittarius. The Sun's transition into Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the Sun leads you to question the meaning of your origins, your home, and the space you consider your base. Consider reviewing the following questions. What social and professional obsession and perfectionism do you need to overcome? How do you spiritually nourish yourself with your origins? Who do you need to be compassionate with? What do you need to regain connection with your origins? Is your home your base of operations? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat harmonious energy, although these planets will still be disrupting the social, political, and economic arena to which we are accustomed to. Pluto, as it moves, comes to transform your thinking and stabilize it. Beware of foolishness. Neptune invites you to conquer your creativity, and Uranus will bring your new partnerships and freedom in society and relationships that you hadn't enjoyed before. When the Sun passes through Taurus, it invites you to enjoy your work, focusing on it and also your daily health habits. Always ruled by Venus, now in conjunction with Neptune, it brings a new source of inspiration so you can dare to conquer your creative processes, although new ideal loves, and above all, to affirm your children's individually and live adventures with them. Keep in mind that due to the conjunction of Mercury with Chiron, you must overcome the pain of a previous situation that left its mark on you, and for a long time has made you distrust your creative ability or love ability. Events and opinions of what happened are pointless, and you must now work to understand the lesson, not to paralyze or impose on yourself, but to forgive from a more open and generous understanding of yourself so that you have the strength and resilience to move forward. Everyone is currently ruled by Mars, already in Leo, and this compels you even more to study and create, inspired by broader ideas and spiritual boundaries that you must conquer. Open your perspective and understanding of the world and focus on creating. You may also be dazzled by an ideal, extraordinary love, but the important thing is not that this love, which you now see as ideal, comes true, but that you are inspired by it to multiply your creative possibilities. With the full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio, your ability to see what is truly important regarding your origins and roots will be strengthened. Don't be afraid to focus on one thing at a time. You won't lose anything. On the contrary, you will complete goals and pending tasks. When the Sun advances to its final conjunction with Uranus in Taurus from May the 14th to the 18th. You will begin to see the end of a long period of professional freedom that has brought you experiences you can share, and you'll feel confident in your originality to generate work and new ideas that help others. Due to the sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th, you'll begin to focus on your relationship and partnerships. There's a need to increase communication and contacts, which is very useful in business partnerships. However, regarding your relationships, what you are asked for now is to clarify many issues regarding daily life and the home. Jupiter has also been in Gemini for some time, and we all want to negotiate, but dialogue is difficult and inharmonious due to Saturn, that is still in Pisces until the 24th, creating uncertainty. And we find ourselves in a period of crisis where the old no longer works and what's next isn't yet clear enough, much less stable. Take advantage of the crisis to at least clear up misunderstandings and your home. On the 25th, Mercury enters its regency, and this opens your mind and dialogue to be more agile, awake, and playful, but also frivolous and inconsistent. Be careful with what you say and what you hear. There's no time for correction and clarification right now, much less on the 26th with the new moon, when we'll be searching for new ways to communicate. On the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time, there is a superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun. Think carefully about the partnerships you want to form and what sense they would make. You don't have to talk about it, just plant the idea and spend the next 36 months creating whatever you were thinking about now. Focus. Capricorn, the sun's passage through Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the sun stars asks you about the meaning of your communication. What knowledge, analysis, and perfectionisms do you need to overcome? How is your spiritual communication? What do you want to express artistically? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat harmonious energy, although these planets will still be shaking up the social, political, and economic conditions we are used to. Pluto has arrived to transform your resources and the technology you used to employ to achieve this. Neptune comes to create a family's foundation, a home that needs to meet the expectations of being a space that inspires you. A love that acts as your muse may also arrive. As for Uranus, it will transform your work situation and force you to move with agility, both mentally and physically. When the sun in Taurus passes through Taurus, it illuminates your creativity, your loves, and the children of the spirit and the flesh. It is ruled by Venus, now in conjunction with Neptune, which almost forces you to create a sanctuary in your home, to inspire you to be there, to remember and to connect with your origins and ancestors, even if you idealize them a bit. Seek out your roots, what achievements your ancestors may have done, and they give you strength. It's true that you have to overcome what Mercury's conjunction with Chiron implies. Perhaps deep within your roots there is a very painful event that left its mark and that you can now review and rethink to also see the lesson of wisdom it left behind, and that can heal your relationship both backward and above all forward. Don't allow the pain to continue claiming more victims. Seek the lesson and undertake the conquest that correspond to you with resilience. All these planets are ruled by Mars, now in Leo. Beyond the power struggles within the group, transform your vision of the past without getting stuck there and begin to conquer your great inner space. With the full moon in Scorpio on May the 12th, your friends will agree that you share what you know, what you understand, and what you feel strongly about. Remember to take notes so that they can support you later and develop them. Days later, When the Sun reaches Uranus in Taurus for the last time from May the 14th to the 18th, pay attention because a ray of inspiration will come to you, a different vision that you can cultivate and develop both in your creativity and in your loves. Of course, it can also bring freedom for all parties involved, allowing them to develop and grow. With the Sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th, you will focus on your daily tasks, answering calls, emails, and appointments, which are multiplying due to Jupiter's presence there for some time now. Just consider that Jupiter is in a difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, which is still in Pisces until the 24th. We all want to negotiate, but there's no certainty yet. Connect, but don't promise anything solid yet. Thinking and clarifying are essential for now. Gemini's power increases on the 25th when Mercury enters its regency. Then on the 26th with the new moon, everything indicates new businesses, beginnings, communication, and movement. Take advantage of the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time when the superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun occurs. At that very moment, reflect on what you want to work on daily, who you want to connect with, and how you can establish necessary connections. You don't have to do them right away, but planning what you need to do is easy for you. Prepare a 36-month plan to complete it with dedication and focus you are used to. Aquarius, the Sun passage into Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the Sun will question the meaning of your values. Considering answer the following questions. What measures, criticisms, and judgments about the values of others you need to overcome? What does your values mean spiritually? How much do you share? Are you losing your values? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat harmonious energy, although these planets will still be shaking up the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed to. Pluto has arrived to transform who you are as a person, who you are in the world, and to broaden your vision, not to cling to what you already know. Neptune will lead you to conquer communication, to encourage your siblings, cousins, and neighbors to new achievements, and Uranus will create conditions for freedom and independent communication with your children and loved ones. Everyone will be willing to support your creativity and your ideas. When the sun passes through Taurus, it illuminates your home. You remember your ancestors and the good times you share with them, even if it was difficult for you to follow their customs. For a long time, you have dedicated yourself to reforming all those beliefs that were established long ago. And as the sun moves towards Uranus for the last time from May the 14th to the 18th, you will be able to gain clarity about what you established as new and that you are now free. The Sun in Taurus is ruled by Venus, which is now conjunct Neptune in the area of communication. This can manifest itself in a love affair with a neighbor who seems ideal and magical, and it truly can be. This relationship will not only establish a bond, but it will also inspire you to write and communicate with enthusiasm and from your individuality. This romantic fantasy can last a long time if it resists the passage of Saturn, which is coming soon. Save what you feel, as I say, for inspiration. Mercury, conjunct Chiron, also leads you to recall a communication problem you may have had in the past. This isn't about withdrawing or remaining silent, but rather reviewing the situation so you understand what lessons it taught you. From that wisdom, you can forgive those responsible and gather the resilience necessary to communicate more deeply. All of the above is ruled by Mars now in Leo in the area of your relationship, which is fundamentally where communication establishes greater harmony in relation to what you have to say. With the full moon on the 12th In Scorpio, you'll question the point of professional and social achievements if you don't have someone to share and celebrate them with. Hence, you'll need to focus on your values and realize that it's more important to be connected with your spirit and emotions than with other things, material things, for example. With the sun's entry into Gemini on the 20th, your relationships with children of the flesh and the spirit, as well as with your loved ones, will be illuminated. It's a matter of communicating, playing, and accepting ideas that, while not profound, they are valuable nevertheless and multiply the possibilities, especially since Jupiter is also in Gemini and we all want to negotiate. But the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn still in Pisces until the 21st leaves no certainty or clarity, especially for you, regarding the true costs of all these negotiations. Communications, proposals, ideas, and possibilities will multiply around the 25th as Mercury reaches its regency and strengthens on the 26th at the new moon in Gemini. Of course, there are so many possibilities and people offering ideas that the important thing is to write them down and wait for the effect of the confusion to go away that is coming to you to pass so that you know what is most important. Take advantage on the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time when the superior conjunctions occurs between Mercury and the Sun. Take a break and ask yourself what's essential, how you can organize everything, and prepare a plan that unfolds over 36 months. I repeat, give yourself time to digest the ideas. Don't just rush into them without thinking. Pisces, the Sun's passage through Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the Sun questions you about yourself and your relationships. What demands, criticisms, and perfectionisms do you need to overcome? How do you nourish yourself spiritually? How did you develop your imagination for 12 years? How can you share with those at home? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat harmonious energy, although these planets still be disrupting the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed to. Pluto has arrived to transform your fears. I'll tell you right away that is not you that have powerful enemies, but rather that you've been given power to that which you fear. And now it's about negotiating with your intelligence and through reasoning, dismantling all those nightmares and theories you've constructed along the years so that your unconscious empowers you and no longer scares you. Of course, it's a long but very valuable process. Undertake it with courage. Neptune has entered Aries to rebuild your values and resources. You think they are spectacular. Be careful and take advantage of the energy to inspire yourself now with strength and a fighting spirit. Uranus will accompany you from your home with your origins and ancestors who moved as you must now do so that you can multiply what you want to achieve. When the sun passes through Taurus, it illuminates your ideas and relationships with siblings, cousins, and neighbors. This stabilizes your thinking, but makes it difficult to change your mind. It's ruled by Venus now, conjunct with Neptune, which makes you revalue all your resources, especially the thirst for conquest in this area. Aspire to the extraordinary. In addition, you will face the challenge brought by Mercury, conjunct with Chiron, so that you may assimilate the lesson of what hurt you, not as a scolding, but rather as a broadening of your understanding and perspective. Understand, forgive, and regain whatever strength you can to move forward. All of these planets are ruled by Mars, now in Leo, which asks you to work with enthusiasm and expressiveness. Take the team into account, for now it's your turn to encourage all of them. With the full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio, ideas will come to you from abroad or from universities or the courts. Use them to focus and free yourself from fixed and outdated ideas. Above all, when the Sun reaches its conjunction with Uranus in Taurus for the last time from May the 14th to the 18th, listen about other perspectives. With the Sun entering Gemini on the 20th, new people will arrive at your home with ideas, messages, calls, and proposals. Get ready. This will be even stronger on the 25th when Mercury reaches its regency, strengthening the new moon on the 26th. There's a lot of movement and proposals, so get ready to write them all down and take advantage of the superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun on the 29th at 10 p.m. Central Time. This is so you can focus on how to transform your ideas, assimilating what they propose. It's not an intuitive process, it's a rational one. So organize it into lists, folders, or notes. You have 36 months to unfold what you understand, learn, assimilate, and take advantage of. Aries. The Sun's transition into Taurus this year is very important because right at the gate of the month, the Sun questions you about your fears regarding what you value. What's the point of having? What is the most important value to you? What are you afraid of seeing from your subconscious? What does spiritual growth means to you? Which inner monster will you overcome? The sign changes of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus will soon stabilize in a pattern that will form in the summer, and we will have a somewhat harmonious energy, although these planets still be convulsing the social, political, and economic conditions to which we were accustomed to. Pluto has arrived to strengthen your groups. You will meet powerful, highly intelligent people who are inspired by your enthusiasm and thirst for achievement for the benefit of all. Neptune asks you to adopt a warrior attitude, not to fight, but to defeat the inner monster that prevents you from moving forward. Uranus will bring you people who will open your mind and multiply your ideas, concepts, acquaintances, and businesses. When the Sun passes through Taurus, we must turn to Venus, which rules it and is currently in conjunction with Neptune, to inspire you to achieve new conquests that you love and that make you feel more capable and closer to divinity. Curiously, this can only be fulfilling if you serve the greatest God, just as the Knights of the Holy Grail did. You must overcome the test of Mercury in conjunction with Chiron, which means not remaining stuck in the wound of inadequacy, but rather learning that what happened left you with a very important lesson that should lead you to forgiveness and stand resilience. Understand that what happened was unfortunate but not intentional. Each participant was unable to see that another was being hurt. Don't get lost in the same story. Renew it. Of course you can. Every planet is ruled by Mars now in Leo. So your self expression is more important and you must agree with the group. Remember that it's not about acting alone, but in the name of the common good. With the full moon on May the 12th in Scorpio, you will recognize that closure is necessary because you've overcome the lessons. Whatever you have learned is fine, and you can now move on to the next stage without looking back. This means letting go of values you clung to for security, but with the Sun's final approach to Uranus from May the 14th to the 18th, you'll free yourself from old ideas, customs, and beliefs, as well as methods that were once safe but are no longer possible. When the Sun enters Gemini on the 20th, the number of people coming to you to share ideas, concepts, business deals, and proposals will increase. Although Jupiter is also in Gemini and we all want to negotiate, the difficult and inharmonious dialogue with Saturn, still in Pisces until the 24th, leaves no certainty and nothing concrete to stand on. By the 25th, when Mercury enters its regency, it will strengthen the new moon in Gemini on the 26th. Then gather everything they tell you and take advantage of the superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun at 10 p.m. Central Time on the 29th to focus on what you want to communicate and understand. You can do it.